20 years ago, I was in a bad road traffic accident. I was hit by a car at 50 miles an hour. I broke my leg, my wrist. They thought I'd broken my neck. My face was smashed up. It was a really bad accident. And through that accident, as part of my rehab, I started going to the gym. Now, I had never set foot in a gym before this point, ever. And I fell in love with indoor cycling.
So today we are talking to Melissa Power. Melissa, we were introduced via a mutual friend, and I was really drawn to your story. After surviving a serious cycling accident, you turned your recovery into a mission to make cycling more inclusive for everyone, building an academy, a social media community, and training hundreds of instructors along the way. Your name, I love your name. Your name is Melissa Power.
Yeah. I have a big Irish family on my dad's side, and in Waterford and Ireland there are a lot of Powers. So yes, it's my real name.
So it's wonderful. It's like nominative determinism, because it really is, because your handle is M Power and you are, you're Melissa Power. I really love that. I remember when I
people don't think it's my real name. Someone sent me a wedding invite and they were like, "Oh, can I get your last name for the invite?" And I was like, "No, my last name is Power."
It's perfect. It's a perfect name. So let's start with a big question. What does it mean to you to live a one precious life?
The big question. I think it means doing something that you love. And it's very hard to do that, I think, for a lot of people. And my hand was almost forced to kind of make something out of an accident. But I think it's better to be frustrated doing something that you love rather than frustrated doing something that you don't. And I think that day-to-day life is always going to come with its peaks and troughs. And, we're all going to have, elements in our jobs that we think, oh my goodness, I really wish I wasn't doing that. But I don't think there is such thing as a dream job. I think there's something about doing a job you love over something that you don't like, but I think you can make it more precious by thinking, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's great. It's interesting. I always think about when I hear people talking about having a job or a career or just doing something that they love. A lot of people say you need light and shade in that. You can't. It just can't be good all the time, because otherwise, it wouldn't work that way. You need those the shade and the down bits as well.
Of course, absolutely. It's like starting. I've launched my own business, and we did it without investment. We did it all of ourselves, put our life savings into it. And I think because of that, when you first start off, there probably is a lot more shade. Yeah. But when you start to make it and when you start to have successes, they're so much more important and they're so much more enjoyable, because you're thinking, oh, hang on, we've done all this, we've worked every single day, and those little rewards along the way. Without, isn't it such a cliche to say without the rain you wouldn't have the flowers, but it is, just in life comparatively, in order to have light, you have to have some days that don't go as well. Otherwise the highs wouldn't be as high. Sometimes you have to have those lows to get those highs.
Yeah.
And if you could have more highs than lows, that would be great, of course. And hopefully that will, that is what starts to happen as you go further into your dream, whether it's a job or whether it's a career change or whether it's a hobby.
So tell me more about that transition into your current business from your previous role, and what prompted you to make this change.
Good question. So I was working in radio and TV. That was my original career. And nearly 20 years ago, I was in a bad road traffic accident. I was hit by a car at 50 miles an hour. I broke my leg, my wrist. They thought I'd broken my neck. My face was smashed up. It was a really bad accident. And through that accident, as part of my rehab, I started going to the gym. Now, I had never set foot in a gym before this point ever. And I fell in love with indoor cycling, spin classes, which we have to call indoor cycling for trademark reasons. And I loved it so much, and I could see what it had the potential to become. Because I think that the classes that I saw, like I say, nearly 20 years ago, comparatively to sort of what I've done in the industry and what they are like now, it's chalk and cheese. But I saw how my skills, as a kind of presenter, producer, I had a background in music. I went to the Guildhall School of Music, and I have a very, very good knowledge of music. And then I just suddenly discovered that I liked exercise. So for alongside my TV job, where I was working on, got everything from Surprise, Surprise to This Morning. My last career was in catchphrase, coming up with the catchphrases for catchphrase. I was teaching spin classes in the morning, in the evening, and they'd be that's what I was excited about. The day job, I wasn't passionate about it. I kind of didn't really care enough. And I was thinking, hang on, this isn't good that I don't care enough. I shouldn't be doing something, because, it'd be those people. And I've still got friends now that work in TV, and I know your background as well, that like, we will stay in this room until this script is perfect. And I was thinking, I don't care if this script is perfect. I want to go home. I want to be up ready to teach spin in the morning. And now when I look at what I'm doing, and I'll sit making a 45-minute playlist for 4 hours and then come back to it again. And that's my equivalent of we won't leave this room. Yeah. And I realized that that I had to leave what I wasn't passionate about and focus on my passion. So I gave it all up. I gave the whole TV, and I said, let's give it 6 months. And in that 6 months, it kind of, it sort of went stratospheric very quickly. And I sort of, I hustled, like I really hustled. I wrote to every single gym in London. I taught everywhere I could. I very quickly went through the ranks and became a master trainer. And was auditioning people, and off the back of that was the big stepping stone into how I launched my own academy, and then later down the line my own studio. So that's it in a nutshell.
And to become a master trainer, do you have to do a lot of hours? Do you have one person you train under, or how does it work?
No, I think a master trainer is that you are essentially the best teacher at that studio. You've got you're clearly stand out. You train the most. You're more passionate. Your skill set is above everybody else's, and from that position, you're in charge of auditioning, and like, so I'm essentially the master trainer at Cadence, my studio, but I'm also the studio owner. So that kind of goes hand in hand. But if I were to have another studio, I would potentially appoint a master trainer. They're kind of the one that looks over everything and is responsible for training. Yeah.
And so when you say for auditioning, does that mean auditioning other teachers, other trainers?
Yeah, auditioning people. So people who want to teach will audition for the studio. And I noticed that most people that I was auditioning were, I mean, bear in mind, I became a good teacher because I put in my own hours, reading up on the science, reading up on everything, kind of working out what worked musically. I didn't have anyone training me, and I had to. But I think sometimes that is what makes you the best teacher, because you've done so much by yourself. You've had to arrive at, this is very niche, but what RPMs work in what places, how you can blend rhythm and power seamlessly, how you can, teach in scientific zones, how I can make people work in VO2 max, but I can talk about it accessibly, how I can, make the whole class feel, completely validated, but by being every different, all of this takes time and, effort and experience. And I noticed that when I was auditioning people, not only did people not have even the basics, but they also didn't have knowledge of music, of programming. And I thought, hang on, something needs to happen here in terms of education. So I think what was happening is previously people would be kind of tacking on indoor cycling certifications to like PT qualifications. It would be like, a little add-on, like, get your massage and your spin qualification, and nobody was giving it the time or the kind of development it needed. So I wrote an indoor cycling certification, which took me months and months. I haven't worked harder for anything in my life. It was harder than my dissertation, my degree, my A levels, and it has to be agreed by the Board of Education for the whole of the UK. So you have to get it through. So I launched that, and we've been doing that for nearly 9 years now. Certified nearly 1,000 instructors.
Gosh, yeah. I think I told you when we first started talking about this that I discovered indoor cycling when I stopped smoking. This is quite some time ago, and I put on a lot of weight. And my colleague at work said to me, "Come on, we're going to go and try out a spin class at the gym." And we were lucky because we had an amazing instructor. I loved him, and it was like going to a nightclub at lunchtime. It was quite dark. It was very high energy, as in dark. The lights were off. High energy. The music was great, and I got fit and lost the weight, and I felt really good. He left, unfortunately, and we got another instructor, and it just wasn't the same. I just really realised the difference when you had just an instructor who gave you that energy in the class.
Totally. And it's because I always say I can't teach personality.
Yeah.
And, I can teach technicality. But often at my studio, what I look for is, a lot of studios will say, we need people with 3 to 5 years experience. We'll only take people that have, been master trainers in previous roles or whatever. And I actually found that some of my best instructors came fresh out of my academy, and what they had was empathy, personality, willingness and eagerness. And actually, if you're a good master trainer, if a good studio owner, you can teach those technicalities. And it's you've put your finger on it. It's the teacher that makes everything. Like we're a very small studio, in that we're fighting against the big dogs who have got massive smoothie bars and hairdressers and cold compressed towels, and we don't have any of that. We're a fantastic small studio, but we don't have that level of investment. So everything goes into making our classes brilliant. And what we found is that actually that's what people want. We get people coming and say, I went to X in the middle of London, and you know what, I had a fantastic shower, but the class was terrible. And I think there becomes a point where people actually want substance over style. And I think now that people are kind of wanting to train for longevity and strength and leave fads behind, that's becoming more and more present.
Yeah. And what about the people in the class? So I suppose my question is, can you do a indoor cycling class with just one student, or do you need more in order for it to?
Technically you could, but it would be like DJing to an empty club.
Yeah.
So it's called group exercise for a reason, because I say to every teacher that comes through my academy, at some point in your life, you will teach a class to one person, because it might have been the England game that night.
Yeah.
It might be everybody. You might just get one rogue Saturday in August when everybody's away, and you will always teach. I've taught to one person, I've taught to 3 people, I've taught to half a room, I've taught to a full room, I've taught to every combination. We just had I just had a full house in at lunchtime. Everyone's broken up for Christmas, and actually, people love it so much that they go, okay, I'm going to get it in, because we're a community studio.
Yeah.
We're in a residential area, and that means that not only are you exercising in a group, you're exercising in a group of people that and you see all the time, and that everyone's got their kind of thing that they do, and Hayley does this, or this person does this, and that's what makes group exercise so powerful, is that you are getting spurred on, by being in a room full of people, but also you're kind of being held accountable by, if I said today, guys, there's a wait list already for the X class, and everyone's like, no, you want that, you want people to be desperate to come. And I think creating a space where people feel left out, missed out if they can't get into class is really special, because a lot of gyms now are so, there's no personality to them. And, I think after COVID with mixed working experiences, people aren't always going to the same places because they're in the office once a week, or, they're in a working space once a week. But so to answer your question, you could teach a class to one person. We only have 14 bikes, and I only wanted to have a small number of bikes because otherwise it becomes unsafe. You've got teachers on massive podiums in arenas, basically, and they can't see the person on the fifth row and they can't coach them. And if you can't see somebody, you can't see what help they need. But I had, a guy in today who's 75. I had 3 girls in their 20s. I had somebody who was 8 months pregnant. Every type of person can do an indoor cycling class if it's taught in the right way.
And there's something about that energy, isn't there? Whether it's like it's the same as if you're in a classroom or even in a church, or, when you just get that group of people together on it, working towards something, it can be quite powerful, that energy that you have together. I always think it's quite interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And British people, British people hold back.
Yeah.
But if one person whoops, then it encourages everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. And so you grew up in London. Were your family entrepreneurial or creative minded?
Yeah, very much so. Not in the industry that I'm in, but I remember when I was growing up, my parents, my mum was running like 3 different jobs at the time. Actually, no, my mum, I completely forgot. My mum taught aerobics at one point. They ran it was a B&B, so they took in foreign students into our house. Like we would be eating breakfast in one corner of the kitchen. There'd be 2 American students. My mum taught antenatal classes. So my parents did, and my dad worked full time. So, they were running 3, 4, 5 different businesses when we were kids, to get money in. Yeah. And I always saw, that really hardworking ethic.
And you said you studied music.
Yeah, I studied music. I did GCSE music, then I did A-level music, and then I went to the Guildhall for a bit. And I was going to do music at university, but I changed my mind at the last minute and did linguistics.
Oh, wow.
And actually didn't play then really, because I did all the, the grades and got to grade 8 piano and flute, and then sort of didn't carry it on through university. And I miss it. I joined a choir a few months ago, and then life just got too busy. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. Playing in an orchestra, singing in a choir. It just, like you say, it's that vibe, that feeling that you get from a room of people, which is wonderful.
It's really powerful, especially when you see choirs. It's like, it must be, I can't sing, but I imagine to be part of that in that choir. It's really
I can't sing anymore now, it turns out, either. 20 years of teaching indoor cycling classes with bad microphones has put pay to a massive octave of my voice.
Right. But it's good to be part of it. It's,
I can mime away with the best of them, yeah.
And if your childhood self saw where you are today, what do you think they'd say?
They would say, absolutely no way, we do not believe this. I never exercised at all. I bunked off PE. We used to go down and sit in Camden Market, sit outside the Costa in Camden Market. I didn't go to one single PE class. I did no extracurricular activity. So my childhood self, seeing me exercise for a living would absolutely not believe it.
So what does an average day look like for you?
Absolutely and totally different. There is no such thing as an average day. I teach at Cadence, my studio, between 8 and 10 times a week. So, for example, I could give you a Monday and a Tuesday, which would be be like get up, program, emails, meetings, teach at lunchtime, then the afternoon again, programming, meetings, edits. Then I teach again in the evening. Tuesday, we film all morning for my YouTube channel. Then I might be doing instructor feedback, coaching, auditions. It could be, it's a mixture of teaching. It could be going into meetings. It could be working on, the future development plans for Cadence. There's a lot in the last few months that we've been doing for YouTube. So that project has kind of come to the forefront. We launched the channel back in September, and it's free indoor cycling classes for the world.
Oh, wow.
And my partner, to be honest with you, my partner is, that my main kind of person I look up to, my mentor, and he is hugely ambitious and he put his career on hold. His background is film and TV, but COVID and then the writer's strikes, hugely impacted his and many of his peers' careers.
Yeah.
So he put that, and now he's become involved with all my businesses. So his background in film and TV means that he has launched the channel. He films it. He edits it. He does everything, and it looks fantastic. We've had a brilliant launch, and it's fantastic classes. They really, really are. I want to show that, indoor cycling is accessible for everybody. And the way that I teach it means that it's the safest form of exercise out there. It really, really is. But, we've put our heart and soul into it.
Yeah. And do you have people in the class with you? Do you call them students or clients? What do you call?
I call them riders.
Riders, you're riders. Oh, yeah. You're great. I like that. Yeah, you have. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. No, because it's completely. I have in ears, so they can't even hear the music. And in order for it to be the best it can for YouTube, that's a very different experience to the best it can be for people in the room.
Yeah.
So it's all set up. The the shot is just, a shot like this with the top of the bike. So it's kind of what Chris has done brilliantly is film it as if you are in the studio with me, but you can just see me. And having people in the room, we made a really big decision not to do that. Also, just the logistics of trying to find people who could come and film a class every Tuesday morning, it is nigh on impossible. People, we can't pay people to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's a much better experience for the YouTube viewer to have just me. And there's big graphics on the screen as well. So, looking at intensities, RPMs. So it's much better just to have me in the shot.
Yeah. Yeah. What are RPMs again?
RPM means revolutions per minute. So it's how many times your legs go around every 60 seconds on the bike. That's also called cadence, which is the name of my studio.
Yeah, right. And so you're building up to something, aren't you? And you can put weight on the bike so you can go. It's like you're riding up a hill and all of those things.
Yeah, so that would be intensity. Yeah. So the kind of the two things that I talk about, the way that I make it accessible is to the RPM. If you have a screen, you can see the RPM, but a lot of people don't. So I make sure that the RPM always matches the BPM. So you can listen to the beat of the music, match your feet to the beat, and then we talk about intensity. And intensity is to do with how much resistance there is on the bike.
Yeah,
it's a combination of RPM, a combination of gear resistance, and it's coached very simply. So I talk about intensity and RPM. So it really, really, even if you don't have a screen on the bike, you could absolutely jump on and do it without any knowledge of indoor cycling whatsoever.
Yeah. And what have been the hardest lessons you've learned on this journey with a startup business?
Oh, good question. I would say that you cannot plan, really. You can't plan. I think taking things day by day, I always want to be in control, and, this is the timetable I wanted and this is the staff I want, and you cannot control people.
Yeah.
And I am so lucky that we have the best team of teachers right now. My team of teachers at Cadence are incredible. They're not just good teachers, they're fantastic people. But, it hasn't been, smooth sailing. And, at the beginning, things like I didn't realize that ClassPass was so dominant. ClassPass is a platform where people pay the platform, then they can go to as many different gyms as they want, rather than paying the studio direct, and ClassPass then take a huge cut. Yeah. So I didn't know that was so dominant. So that kind of, affected the business model. All of these things, I think, I stupidly thought 14 bike studio, and also I think that the lesson I would mainly take home is not everyone loves exercise as much as I do. Because I thought, oh my goodness, everyone loves it. And Chris, my partner, despises exercise. I mean, the fact that he runs 3 fitness businesses with me, but he's a very good sounding board when I say, why isn't it full? And he's like, it's 7 a.m. on, the Friday before people break up for Christmas. I don't think people want to exercise. And I'm like, really? I do. And he's like, yeah, but you're bonkers, Yeah. So I think kind of having more of an understanding that things will not go as you think that they will.
Yeah.
And when you work with other people and you work with, with the general public, you have no control over anything. And I've also learned that a lot of people are very angry, and they come with an anger, sort of prepared to attack. People going, I was a tiny bit late for class, and I wasn't allowed in. Anger, and we just go, no problem. We'll give you the credit back. This is why we do that, for health and safety. But, Chris is very good at killing people with kindness, and I've got a lot better at killing people with kindness as well. And I think, I don't know if it's the way the world is now, or, it's been a very, very tough year for so many people. And I think that I've seen sort of people kind of become angrier, I think, in day-to-day life.
When did you start your studio?
Just over 2 years ago.
And I remember you telling me weren't you just pregnant at that point as well?
Yeah, we signed the lease on the studio sort of, I think it was the day after we found out that I was pregnant. So it was a tricky first year. I wasn't a very good pregnant person either. I didn't like being pregnant. A lot of people, say they do, but I wasn't very good at it. So kind of launching a studio and dealing, I think it was also, when you're at the front of a fitness class every day and your body's changing so much, it knocks your confidence, and then trying to have to sort of be the person, and then kind of think the whole time, I need to be kind of aware that. So it was a tricky period for sure.
Yeah. And so during this few years that you've just been starting up, you've had a baby, you've had, you've been having to do that and run a business at the same time. So it's, I imagine, quite a juggling act.
Yeah, it has. And I think I'm not an early morning person. I've never been an early morning person. And, everyone says, if you work in fitness, you must love it. You must get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock every day. I'm like, no, I hate it. I am not an early morning person at all. Given the choice, I think I'd probably get up at like 8. But having a baby, getting up between 5:30 and 6 every day for the last 2 years, as well as launching the business, definitely been challenging. But I think that the beauty of having my daughter is that when things have been challenging, and there's been a few months this year which have been very challenging, ultimately when she comes in the door or you pick her up or whatever, everything else just goes. You stop worrying about anything else, and it's just like, right, and you give all your attention, and for those however many hours it is before she goes to bed or when she wakes up, it's just the most joyous, brilliant thing.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm guessing, because you'll be able to tell me otherwise, that you probably get quite a lot of endorphins, like when you're teaching your classes and that you can, I imagine you get a bit of a high either in the middle or when you walk away at the end of it. Does that sort of get that rush out of your daily work?
It does, but it can also be quite lonely, because it's just you and, who hypes the hype man?
Yeah.
And yes, if you have a good class, the class I just taught at lunchtime was incredible. But there's also classes where there is less energy in the room. Maybe it's a Thursday lunchtime. Maybe people just want to come in, get their heads down and get on with it. And when there's less energy in the room, you have to triple your own energy
Yeah.
Like today was a really good example of those natural endorphins. And I left the class and everybody loved it. It was just a really, everyone was in a really good Christmas mood. Everyone sort of broken up and it was, full house and it was fantastic. And that was a real, that was like a natural high. But then equally, everyone leaves and you're by yourself and there's no one to go, oh, wasn't that great? It's not like in the office where you have a good meeting or, you win a pitch and you go, guys, well done, because then the music's off, the lights are off and you're the one wiping down the bikes.
Yeah.
And it's those that there isn't anyone to celebrate. And it's, being self-employed and owning a studio, and it can be incredibly lonely.
Yeah.
And I think what we found over the last, because, when I was teaching at other studios, I would still have people that I'd have kind of fellow teachers that I might see after class, or you'd see other people around. But when it's your own studio, you're the one locking up, you're the one cleaning up, And I think that those highs that you get, that's what keep you going. But I think the juxtaposition of that is that there isn't anyone to celebrate the highs with, and that can sometimes highlight it being quite a lonely career. And fitness professionals have to put on brave faces, and when you're teaching a class, and I've taught after having bad news, I've taught after I had a miscarriage and I had to come back and teach after that, and you still have to bring the hype. And I always say to my teachers, well, I don't say that, that they get it because they're good teachers, but any issues, you leave them behind, because people have paid for you to make that 45 minutes the best 45 minutes in their day.
Yeah.
So any issues you're having, if you're ill, I've taught through norovirus. I've taught a class and gone and thrown up, but for those four, it's like being on stage, Adele in a residency. It's like you have to bring it, and then you can go off and be as sad and as ill as you want. But for the time you're there, you have to give everything, which can be tiring, mentally draining.
Absolutely. There's quite a few people I've spoken to in this podcast who have, run their own businesses, and they say exactly the same as you, that it can be lonely because you're running the whole thing.
Totally.
And some people have got sort of support groups that they're part of, like with other business owners, or, that some of the women I talk to have got like sort of female networks they're part of. Do you have anything that any other types of, obviously you've got Chris, your partner, he sounds amazing. I don't.
But I think it would be good. I'd like to kind of have, a network definitely of other kind of business owners, female business owners, especially that I could talk about more general things too, and I think that would be great. But it's tough. Finding time is tough.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that I'd like to do, I think, next year.
A lot of people do dream of working for themselves or creating something meaningful. Do you think there's anything that separates those who take the leap from those who don't?
I think there is. I think if having a network, a support network behind you that you can fall back on if it fails.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very hard, my partner at the time, when I left my TV job and went all out, was supportive of me and just said, you do it and I will support you. But if I hadn't have had that, then I wouldn't have had that kind of financial buffer to I said, I'll give it 6 months. And he sort of said, well, in those 6 months, I can support you, which was great. But I think without that, it's very, very hard, because especially where finance is concerned, to, quit a full-time salary.
Yeah.
I mean, and do something where you don't know, when you're self-employed, you never kind of know, you're never financially stable, really.
Yeah.
Because, you're paid by the class if you're a fitness instructor. When I was in TV, I was on short contracts. But I think it's kind of having the ability to say, right, I mean, I've just got to take this risk and live with the worry.
Yeah.
And if you can't live with the worry, then it's not worth taking the risk. I'm
Yeah.
actually not very good at living with worry, but Chris is. So we balance each other out.
Yeah. Yeah. Were there any changes that you made to your life and work after COVID and lockdown?
Yeah, I mean, COVID for me was, how can I say this? It benefited my business because I wasn't given any help by the government because of my position as a self-employed fitness instructor. I wasn't given any money, and certainly the amount of money I could claim wasn't even enough to pay the rent, let alone, live off. So I launched originally just doing Instagram Live. Do you remember everybody was doing Instagram Lives? And I had no idea what I was doing. And I sellotaped my phone to the wall and it fell off in the middle of class. And it was an absolute nightmare. I wasn't with Chris at the time, so I didn't have that tech support. And then it really gathered momentum. Like, I was getting more views than like big gyms, big franchises, because I kind of I was taking it seriously, but I was also just saying, it was a chat. It was, people would be joking, would be coming along. I remember one class, everyone was just making cheese jokes. We'll all be fatter after this. Ha ha ha. But it became a community. I kind of discovered that I had a nose for business because I was doing it all for free and people were donating. And then the second lockdown, I went, no, I'm now going to launch an online gym, which I did. I did it all over Zoom, but I found like a booking program and I charged people £6 a class. So I kept it really affordable, but the numbers were big. So, you could get a lot of people into each class.
Yeah.
And since then, when I kind of had to go back and start working for other people, I thought, I don't want to be doing this. And I would be going back to studios and thinking, my God, I don't mean this in an arrogant way, but I cared so much that I would see that what they were doing could be improved. And I thought, hang on, why should I be working for other people? I've proved that I can do this. And that is really what spurred me on to Open Cadence.
Yeah,
but it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hugely rewarding, and I couldn't ever work for anybody else because I'm so passionate, indoor cycling. I've been doing this for 20 years and, we were lucky enough to be named Best Studio by Time Out this year, and it's been fantastic. But it's kind of, having to have a nose for business as well as being excellent at the business that you run.
And I know a lot of business owners, particularly small business owners, say that's the challenging thing is cash flow, being the fire warden as well as,
Totally.
opening the doors and all of those things that you're constantly having to think about all the time can be quite challenging.
Yeah.
Is there anything in your life that you're really grateful for that's got you to this point?
Chris. Without Chris, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I wouldn't have opened Cadence. I wouldn't be doing YouTube. I wouldn't have, the academy wouldn't have got to where it is. So he has taken the kind of fledgling businesses that I had and I'd started by myself, and he's got lots of experience of business and turned them into, proper businesses. Like before Chris, I'd never opened an Excel document.
Yeah.
So we sometimes joke that how did I manage to get so far, on just vibes, on just, I think this will work. And he was like, so where are your accounts for that period? Or like, so how did you work out your margins for that? And I'm like, I just guessed and it worked out okay. But when you've got bricks and mortar, you have to open Excel, turns out.
Yeah, you really do. I know it's annoying, but you do. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I always find it fascinating when I talk to people, especially in my world. I talk to a lot of creative people who are coming up with ideas, and people are often like, "Where did that come from?" And like so many things, it's often a partnership, or it's not. It's one person might do one bit, but the other person will do the other bit, and without all of those different parts, you wouldn't have whatever it is that you're creating because it's often difficult for one person to do everything. And as you say, Chris has
Absolutely.
helped amplify and accelerate what you're doing. Is there something you're working towards at the moment that really excites you?
YouTube. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is huge. Yeah, I think it's just Chris and I, and Chris has got a huge amount of knowledge about the platform. I've got a huge amount of knowledge about indoor cycling, and we are so passionate about wanting to make indoor cycling accessible on a global scale. We really want this channel to work and to be big, and it's something that no one else has to be involved in. We're not waiting on anybody else. We can just do it together. I mean, that is the problem, though, when you live together and you work together and you have a baby together, that you don't really have any spare time to talk about anything that isn't work. But because we're both so passionate about it, we like talking about it. We'll sit on the sofa at night and we'll go, right, what's the plan for this? But in an exciting way.
Yeah.
I would love to open another cadence, but for that, I would need some money from somewhere.
Right.
And whether that comes, internally from another business venture, or if it comes from investment, that's something to kind of hopefully look into next year.
Yeah. How do you stay open to new possibilities in life and in your business?
I say yes to as many things as I can, because I always think that even if I do something that I don't particularly want to, I think you can always get one thing, one piece of learning, one connection. I've been to events that I didn't particularly want to go to and listen to talks, but I've made a connection there, and that person has ended up doing my course, or they've known someone that. So I think never say no unless you're really, really sure that there is nothing that you could possibly get out of it.
Have you ever had a moment where you thought, this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing?
Yeah, like today's class. When like that, when you or when someone goes, that class changed my life. I didn't know that indoor cycling could be like that. Yes, quite often actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's so powerful to be able to have that, because a lot of people don't have that. So to be able to have that is amazing. Has your definition of a meaningful life evolved over time?
Yeah, I think probably it's become simpler. And I think the things, because, we've not left the country in 2 years. I mean, partly because of the businesses, and also trying to go away with a small baby is not a good idea, as we discovered when we went to the Lake District. And actually, I think, what's the point? So many of my friends would go, we took them to South Africa, or we went to the south of France, and it was a nightmare, because essentially we took away a small potato that wasn't with any of its toys. They couldn't sleep anywhere. And I kind of think, actually, the most meaningful points of my life have just been us together at home, being content, being happy, and, and playing with her. And I think because I haven't had the time or the opportunity, or, the financial freedom at points to go, I want to go for cocktails at the Ritz, or, things that I think I probably would have done before, I actually don't miss it. And I think the most meaningful times are just being at home with the family. God, I sound like such a cliche, but I actually do. And yes, it would be nice, to go to the Caribbean again at some point. But I think, when everything's just having kind of everything come together, and having a good feeling like, I'm very, very lucky to be doing what I love doing. And I have to remember that, when sometimes you have a really hard day, and, the toilet breaks at work or whatever, and you kind of, you're plumbing and you're standing next to, and you have to go, actually, no, I am doing what I love. So I think, the simpler things have become more meaningful.
Yeah. I found that as well after COVID, as well as having an illness. Exactly that. It's like, a simple life. It doesn't have to be all of the glamorous things that you think it should be. It's just being with people that you love and enjoying the sort of more simple comforts. I've heard a lot of people say that. It's really...
Oh, good.
It's quite profound, isn't it? Because we all think we should be chasing something, but actually it's often that simple simple life that's
Yeah.
not that simple, but simple enough.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up, it's your 100th birthday and someone's giving a speech about your life. Are there anything you'd hope that they might say?
That she stuck to her principles, I think. There have been countless times where, we've had people say, we want to come down and film a class at Cadence, or we want to be doing this, or you can feature in here if you do this, or, I have doggedly stuck to my guns, and I've stopped working places because I didn't agree with the way that they worked, with what they were doing. To my own detriment sometimes, so I would hope that they would say that I steadfastly stuck to my principles.
Nice. And is there any advice or wisdom that you'd leave for others?
Don't reply to the email straight away. And just be kind. I know it's such a cliche to say be kind, but if you kill people with kindness, Chris always says, if you can sleep at night, then you've done the right thing. And there'll be times where I'm going, oh God, I shouldn't have said that. I knew I shouldn't have said that. Why did I say that? I could have taken the easier path and just ignored that and moved on, and I didn't. And then I can't sleep. So I think I find, because I am, as I just said, quite principled, I sometimes find it hard to kind of let it go or just go, do you know what? It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Just, am I going to remember this tomorrow? So I think I'm trying to, I'd say to people, do something in the day, which means that at night you're not going to worry about it.
Yeah, that's really important, I think. And it is that be kind, and you're not just saying it for the sake of it. You've got a reason behind it. Well, thank you so much, Melissa Power. You've been wonderful. Thank you.